Hey there, 3 a.m. Coney fans. Lukas here. It's time. Cincinnati Bengals football has arrived. I am unbelievably thrilled and excited for it. We're going to go game by game through the Cincinnati Bengals season, and I'm going to tell you what I think will happen to the 2020 Cincinnati Bengals and why this will be the most exciting year of Bengals football since 2011, although since it's the number one overall pick, Joe Burrow, since it's a guy with this much hype and potential, I imagine this will probably be the most excited Bengals fans have been since 1989. But, that's just me. We'll see. Let's go game by game. Let's start with the Chargers. That's this Sunday, September 13th, at home against the Los Angeles, formerly San Diego Chargers. I think the Cincinnati Bengals win this game. I think they win 27-21. The Chargers suffer from the Cowboy syndrome of being way more talented than they probably are, at least in people's minds, because we know a lot of the players' names. There's talent on this Chargers team, don't get me wrong, but it's a defensive head coach with a new quarterback, an offensive line and linebacking core that struggled, much like the Bengals, in a week where not many people will be able to tackle. So you're going to lean to the team with the better skill position guys, and I lean Cincinnati. I think they win 27-21, plus a lot more information for the Bengals on the Chargers than the other way around. I think Joe Burrow comes out, surprises, has a solid day. Looks like Cam Newton did. Looks like Andrew Luck, although Andrew Luck and Cam Newton both lost in their debuts. But productive, effective, and I think Joe Burrow is going to grab a win in week number 1. In week number 2, at Cleveland on a Thursday night. Now, your initial reaction is, it's Thursday night football. That means we should go to the team that doesn't have the rookie quarterback. But Baker Mayfield's actually at a disadvantage because he has his 4th coach since he's been in the NFL. And they have an entire new head coach this year to teach the entire team. I just think the transition in Cleveland is going to be a lot tougher than the transition in Cincinnati. In Cleveland, you're plugging and playing a whole organization into a new system. In Cincinnati, you're plugging and playing 6 people, 5 free agents, 1 rookie quarterback into a system that already existed. I think they win a primetime thriller and start 2-0. Yes, the Bengals will start 2-0 this year in this prediction, but then the reality check. This is not going to be a video where the Bengals go 16-0. I'm not crazy, nor am I stupid. So I think the Bengals go into Philadelphia and get blown out against the Eagles. It's the wake-up check. The team's going to be flying high. They're 2-0. Everybody, even Bobby Hart's going to be overconfident. And the Eagles are a really talented team that'll be a little healthier than they are right now in week 3. And I think they'll stomp the Bengals and be that reality check for Joe Burrow. And the reason why I had to put a reality check in there is because there's no way this team starts 4-0 and they get the Jaguars, which is almost a guaranteed win in week 4. They defeat Jacksonville, in my eyes, 42-17. You're going to see this a lot in the Joe Burrow era. Bad teams are going to do really bad. When he gets an advantage, when he's got the edge in terms of game plan, when he has your system and your corners figured out with this skill position talent, the offense for Cincinnati will look really, really good against bad teams. And one of those bad teams, Jacksonville, big-time win. Bengals start the season 3-1. We started 4-1, though, a couple years ago, and that didn't work out well. I think they lose the next week against the Ravens. This team doesn't match up against Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, too good for our linebackers. They're great at the tight end core. Again, you need linebackers for that, and a linebacker the Bengals do not have, at least currently. Maybe one will emerge. So they lose to the Ravens 38-17. They're 3-2. Then I have them losing at Indianapolis to the Colts to fall to 3-3. This is one of those close NFL losses. Remember, we got the Colts on a close NFL loss with that fumble recovery for a touchdown a couple years ago. I think the Colts get us back in like a 28-26 showdown. And then we move into the next Cleveland game. This is usually what happens to Cincinnati Bengals teams, is those division games come at cruxes of the season. It's how it happens for most NFL teams. But for the Bengals specifically, if you can track them throughout history, whenever they were near 500 or faltering, they played the Browns and are always elevated. Whenever they're near 500 and surging, they seem to play the Steelers and are always knocked down a peg or two. This time they knock up because they play Cleveland again. Now this one, I think Cleveland will do much better against Joe Burrow the second time. I also think the Bengals will do much better against Baker Mayfield the second time. And I think this is the point when Baker Mayfield might start to unravel as the Browns' future starting quarterback. In this game against Cincinnati, I think the Browns could start 2-5 at this point, and I think that they blow it to Cincinnati, and we get a free win because Baker Mayfield can't get out of his head, out of his you-know-what. And the Bengals now 4-3. Then I think we lose to the Titans. Vrabel's an experienced head coach. He does well against rookies. And now there will be a lot of tape on Joe Burrow. This will be the sticky point of his season, I think. I think he'll be good early, sticky in the middle, lose to the Titans here 24-10. Now it's 4-4. Bengals fans start to have questions as we move into the Steelers week. Now, it won't be good. I think the first game at Heinz Field is going to be a struggle for Cincinnati. I think TJ Watt is I think he's my defensive player of the year this year. TJ Watt. And this Bengals offensive line, even if they're marginally improved, I think that first game against the Steelers, their defense is going to look pretty unique in the NFL this year. And it's going to be a struggle for Joe Burrow in Heinz Field. At Pittsburgh, I think the Bengals go 4-5. They lose 27-13, maybe even worse. Then an easy win against Washington, 42-10. Don't need to talk about that. The fact that Dwayne Haskins versus Joe Burrow will be somewhat of a storyline, but there's a 50-50 shot. Haskins isn't even playing by that point. Then the Bengals are going to beat the Giants. I like Daniel Jones, but he's more of a discount Joe Burrow. I imagine the Bengals will handle the Giants in a close game against a bad team. Now they're 6-5. Then Tua will be starting as the Bengals head to Miami and battle the Dolphins. And when it's Tua versus Joe, it's going to be Joe's chance to really prove something. You're coming off of 2 straight wins, momentum on the road, better quarterback. I have the Bengals winning that one 31-24, pushing them at 7-5. Has anything I said been horribly unrealistic? Maybe the 2-0 start. That's the only part of this thing that I'll let you say is unrealistic. If we took out the 2-0 start, they'd be 5-7. If they split those first two, which is certainly possible, they're 6-6. So I'm not exactly insane so far here. We go then to Dallas, actually in Cincinnati. Cowboys come in. I have the Cowboys as one of the best teams in the NFC. Will they actually be? I don't know, but they have a lot of talent. It's an NFC game coming off 3 straight wins, and this is the NFL. I think the Bengals lose this one because they're somewhat looking ahead to what is going to be the most crucial game of Joe Burrow's rookie season. It's going to be the game that every single one of you out there are going to remember as the moment Joe Burrow officially arrived in the NFL. Because it's Monday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Cincinnati. The Steelers have won 18 of the last 20 games in Paul Brown Stadium. And historically, primetime, Pittsburgh, bad news. And the reason you draft a guy like Joe Burrow is to change that one trend. That one trend. Because what was missing from the first 5 years of the Cincinnati Bengals this decade? Because this organization shifted, changed, Duke Tobin mainly in control, the offspring of Mike Brown more running the organization. Since that point, they were fairly competent. 5 straight years. What were they missing? They were missing that dude that go out with the lights bright and the pressure on and deliver. They never had that. AJ Green has never, ever been able to deliver in the clutch for this team outside of a few regular season games against the Ravens. Andy Dalton certainly wasn't ever able to deliver in the clutch. I always thought he might be able to, but it never happened in any game that mattered. This team never has had that. Carson Palmer couldn't deliver in the clutch. Every time they sniffed the playoffs, he figured out a way to throw 3 or 4 pick sixes. The reason Joe Burrow is a change for this franchise, it's not the talent, it's not the arm strength, it's not the background, it's not the fact that he grew up in Ohio, it's none of that. It's that finally, for the first time, the Bengals have somebody in the quarterback room that isn't scared to be a Cincinnati Bengal. They aren't scared of the pressure. They aren't scared of the expectations. They aren't scared of losing, and they certainly aren't going to be scared of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's why you draft Joe Burrow, and that's why they'll win on Monday Night Football, in my opinion, to go 8-6. And they'll win 38-35. Shootout. Joe Burrow carrying the team. Not afraid, won't back down. And I think that'll happen. I think that'll be the peak of this season. The Joe Burrow hype will go absolutely insane, both locally and nationally, because the Bengals will be 8-6 with a win against the Steelers on Monday night. They lose to the Texans, who are a better team than them the next week. Short week, high emotion, you understand. 24-20, 8-7. But because they beat the Steelers on Monday Night Football, that means the Ravens are going to rest their starters because they have the division and the 1 seed locked up by week 17. And the Ravens will hand the Bengals a free win to change their fortunes from what should have been 8-8 to what will end up being 9-7. That's the little bit of good luck that I see the Bengals desperately needing in this schedule to get to a 9-7 mark. The other bit of luck in terms of whether they'll make the playoffs, well, the AFC has to be bad enough that the 7 seed is 9-7. Most years it is. So this year I have the Cincinnati Bengals making the playoffs as the 7 seed with these teams above them: the Texans, the Steelers, the Colts, the Patriots, the Chiefs, and the Ravens. That means Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow in Arrowhead, week 1 of the postseason in the wild card round. And Bengals fans, get excited because Joe Burrow is going to look really good in that game, and the Bengals are going to lose about 42-28. They'll get blown out, but Joe Burrow will look great. It'll just be evident that this team has about 1 or 2 steps to take to be a Super Bowl contender. Sounds realistic to me. Hopefully you found it realistic as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Lukas Moore. Make sure you check out the 3 a.m. Coney. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. Like us on Facebook. 3 a.m. Coney, your home for Cincinnati sports. Hopefully hope, but when it comes, and we know it will, Cincinnati fans, the eventual misery will be there for you through that as well. I'm Lukas Moore. Thank you so much. Bengals go 9-7. This has been a full season prediction.